Hello, welcome to this webinar by Semrush. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night maybe. For me, it's 1 a.m. here in Bali, Indonesia, so I'm still awake and ready to kick off this amazing webinar. We have two great speakers today. Let me introduce you to them briefly. One is Susan Moller from Tailwind, and the other one is Chloe Berber. And I am Andrea Dottavio, and I run a digital marketing agency, which is a location-independent agency, and we focus a lot on Instagram and Facebook marketing. So today we're going to go all in about Instagram marketing, especially, and see what the trends are, what's working, what's not working, and probably also we will maybe have some anticipations on what Instagram will be in 2020. So I know there are a lot of people joining from different countries. So welcome from the US, Canada, Spain, Sweden, and Italy, and many other countries. So hopefully you will find this interesting. Just follow it until the end. There will be the option to post questions. So Susan, Chloe, and I maybe will be answering all your questions that you might have. So I would like to start with Susan. Susan, where are you based at the moment? Where are you speaking from?
Yes, I am in New York City. Tailwind is based in Oklahoma City, but I work from the New York City office. And I'm excited because today I'm using our conference room, which means that I have kicked all the engineers out of the space.
Great. And what's the weather like in New York City today? Here is pretty hot, even if it's night. But
yeah, it's not hot, but it is rainy. So it's a little bit of a sad fall day in New York. But we're hoping for less rain throughout the day. I'm a little bit jealous of Bali. Like, is it sunny all the time?
At the moment, yes, it is. It has mainly two seasons. So there's the rain season and the dry season. This is still the dry season, so it's still nice. It doesn't rain, and the air is pretty fresh, I have to say. The sun is very strong, of course, but it's island vibe, island life. So it's always smiling and being happy.
Yeah,
let's say.
New York is an island, but it doesn't have the island vibe quite the same way.
It depends. You can get to Staten Island or any other island around. Just get the feeling. And what about you, Chloe? Where are you based?
I am in Lexington, Kentucky, and I also work remotely. So Susan and I are on the remote side of Tailwind, but on the same team. So.
Okay, nice. And what's the weather like?
It's been really cool lately, which has been really nice. Last week it was in the 90s, and then this week's in the 60s. So it just made a big change. That's Fahrenheit, but yeah, it was a really fast turn into fall.
Okay. Yeah, I can just imagine this year.
Yeah.
Okay, I would say enough for the weather. And if we are all ready, we can actually start the webinar.
Super.
So, Susan, go ahead with it.
Let me share my screen with you. I am very excited to talk to you today about sharing my screen. Here we go. Sharing on. Okay, 1 second. Resume screen.
Yay.
Yay. There we go. So I am really excited to talk to everyone today about Instagram, and particularly about how Instagram can drive traffic to our websites. You have probably heard a lot about Instagram, and I'm sure you're thinking about how to add Instagram to your marketing mix. And I wanted to just start by talking a little bit about why people are so interested in Instagram. And I think the basic reason is because so many people are there. When you look at Instagram by the numbers, there are 1 billion Instagram accounts that are active every month, and 500 million of those are active on Instagram every day. 80% of people who use Instagram follow a business on the platform, and 60% of people say that they discover new products on Instagram. So there's absolutely an opportunity on this network to get your products in front of an audience that is eager to hear about them. I think, though the numbers are impressive, that it's probably even more beneficial for you to hear a little bit about how other people are succeeding in their marketing on Instagram. Chloe, in addition to her work at Tailwind, also maintains an Instagram account with 25,000 followers. And so I was hoping that she would be able to just tell you a little bit about her Instagram story and how she's using it in her business.
Yes, I would love to do that. I started my blog last August, and I started it with a very specific focus of sustainable fashion. So collaborating with companies or purchasing from companies that had, ethical manufacturing practices and paid their workers a living wage. And that was really important to me. And it eventually grew into a little bit of a larger account, which allowed me to actually work with brands and have more of an influencer company relationship with them as opposed to just a consumer. And so I really had to navigate that transition. And now it's turned into a full blog where I talk about all sorts of things other than fashion as well. So for me, it's been a really fast learning curve of just a year of learning kind of how to grow on Instagram. And I'm really excited to share some of that with you all today.
So you should definitely be convinced about Instagram. Tons of people are there. We know it works. And if you're still not convinced, I would encourage you to remember that your competitors might be. And if your competitors are on Instagram with their marketing and you're not, you're missing out on an opportunity to have first access to the audience that's gathered there. Let's go ahead and talk about why Instagram can be a little bit daunting for us as marketers and a little bit daunting for us when we think about driving traffic to our sites. With other social networks like Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, there's a very clear path to get people from the social network to your site. You can share a link in a post. You can share a post that is only a link. But Instagram is a little bit different. With Instagram, there are a couple of paths to get people from the social platform to your site. The first is to create a social post for Instagram. Most often people would include their call to action in the caption for that photo or image. That call to action would encourage people to move from the post in the feed to the bio for the account, where there would be a link that would lead them to your site. You can see in the picture here an example of Smart Bio in my Instagram profile. Another path is for people to interact with you on Instagram to the point that they have enough awareness of your brand that they would visit your site on their own. The third route is one that's available to people who have 10,000 followers. Once you have 10,000 followers on Instagram, a new feature opens up which allows you to swipe up within the feed to get a link to someone's site. So those are the main pathways to your site from Instagram. And if you're like me, you look at that, especially the first one, and you think, okay, Instagram post, CTA, to my bio, to my link, to my site. And you can just picture all the people that you're losing as they get to your site. But as SpongeBob says, there is a bright side. And the bright side is that when people follow that path to you, they are really interested in what your site has to offer them. So you may see smaller numbers, you may not, but if you do, I think you can be confident that the traffic you're getting from Instagram is higher quality traffic than you might get from just a link being shared in a social post on another network. So what Chloe and I are going to talk about today is how to actually unlock that traffic from Instagram. And there are 3 keys that you can take away from this. The first one is to unlock traffic from Instagram, you need to be active on the platform. There's no substitute really for being active on the Instagram platform. As part of that, you'll be focusing on building your audience. And then the third effort is really bringing people to your site from Instagram. So we'll talk a little bit about at the end about mechanisms to bring people from your Instagram account to your site. Just to give you a little bit of a perspective about how Instagram works, there are 3 parts to the algorithm that Instagram uses to decide what posts are going to be displayed in a user's feed. The first of those is interest. So the algorithm is trying to determine if a person is going to be interested in the content that you're posting. The second is relationship, and you can just read that as engagement. The algorithm is trying to determine how often this person is already engaging with your account on Instagram. And then the third one is recency. We are looking, well, the algorithm is looking to see how frequent or how fresh the post is. So if you're like me, you might look at this and just be a little bit overwhelmed at thinking, how am I going to be this active, this involved on Instagram? And Chloe and I have talked a little bit about how she does it. And Chloe, I thought it would be great if you could maybe just tell us a little bit more about how you manage this need for fresh content and engaging with people and looking for new interests on Instagram.
Yes, it can feel like a lot. I think it's really important to have your goals laid out in advance. I think sometimes with Instagram, we think I need to get followers to get where I want to go. Especially as a blogger, that's a huge temptation for me. But what I actually want to do is bring people to my website. And so I need to go into everything that I do on the app with that intention in mind. You need to have your goals for your business or your blog laid out in advance. Otherwise, Instagram can take up a lot of your time. And so some of the things that I do in order to make sure that I'm setting goals and that all of my actions align with those goals is to have a plan in advance of what my goals are, how I'm going to accomplish them. Then I like to break up the work that I do. So maybe I'll have a day where I write a few blog posts, a day where I take several sets of photos. And I like to do all that in chunks because it gives me, I'm in the same headspace as opposed to feeling like every single day I need to take a great photo, come up with a great caption, and direct people to my website in a really compelling way. That can be overwhelming. And I think it prevents people from using the app in a way that can really support their business. And so in addition to all that, I also have a timer for how long I'm on the app every day. And my phone allows me to do that. I think there's different ways you can set that up, but it makes me go into the app with intention. Am I going to engage? Am I going to post? So I know an estimation of how much time it's going to take, because you want Instagram to support your business, not take away from time when you could be building your business. My recommendation is to attempt to post every day. If that feels like a lot, maybe it's every weekday, and you can always grow from there.
That's great. Thank you. And I loved it when I heard that you had a timer. Andre, how do you do this with multiple clients? Like, how do you manage your Instagramming for everyone?
With different people, and also by scheduling the posts. So we don't just we don't work using the phones, because that takes a lot of time. So you can do it if you just run your own profile. Otherwise, you need to use an external platform to do that. And also because, every time you want to post, there's a bit of work, like hashtag research, for example, and write the captions and everything. So it's a job that you have to do in advance, in my opinion, if you're managing different profiles for different clients.
Yeah. Yeah, those are good insights. And, this is just to reaffirm how important it is to consistently be active on the platform. In 2017 at Tailwind, we looked at 100,000 different posts and found that people who were posting 7 or more times each week got more engagement than people who were posting less frequently. And I think that definitely makes sense given what we know about the algorithm and also what we know about name recognition. I found myself the other day liking a picture of someone I follow's grandchild. And as soon as his picture popped up, I was like, oh, that's Elliot. I've never met them. But that's that power of someone who's really engaged on Instagram as I start to feel like I know them. So one thing that I thought, and Andre alluded to this, is that, how do you keep this up when you're a business? And so there are a couple of, I guess, sanity savers that I would recommend. One is what you mentioned, scheduling posts. And it's important to know that won't hurt your account with Instagram as long as you're using someone who's an official partner with their program in order to schedule. The other thing Chloe alluded to, which is a content plan. And at Tailwind, we've developed a framework that we refer to as the value framework to give you 5 types of posts that you can use on Instagram every week. And to remember what they are, you just remember the word value. As you're approaching this from the standpoint of someone who may already have a blog or have a content marketing organization, remember that the content that you create for Instagram can be derived from your blog. It can be derived from customer testimonials. It can be derived from videos you're already posting. So you don't have to think of everything as being created from scratch for Instagram, but you can take those content pieces from other places and present them in an Instagram friendly way. So to use the value framework, you would want to think about identifying what you can provide that is valuable to your audience. So that's the V in value. Valuable posts are helpful, they're educational. Your audience would see them and be able to learn something from them. If you have a blog and you have an outline for your blog posts with maybe 2 or 3 points, those are 2 or 3 valuable things that you could say to your users on Instagram. Taking a main point from your blog and repurposing it with an image is a good way to go. Aspirational posts give your audience an idealized or tangible view of what your product could accomplish for them. So when you're creating aspirational posts, think about the feeling or the benefit you want your audience to get from your product, and then translate that into an image. Life cycle posts are probably where you're going to have more calls to action, or they might be frequently occurring. You would invite people to come to your blog or to an event or to connect with you in some way. Unique posts are proprietary, they're branded, they're something that's focused on your business that only you can offer. So you could look at customer testimonials or case studies for some of those things, or just posts that display who you are as a brand. And then evergreen posts are those that are not only timely now, but are going to be relevant for a long time to come. So keep in mind that you can set out a content plan and you don't have to just wake up every morning, look at your phone and decide what to post that day. Now, once you have...
I would say that's the worst way to manage a profile.
Yes, I would agree. I was thinking about that as you were sharing, Susan, and you might find that certain types of posts do better and you might want to include more of those, but having the diversity of your different angles for each post is going to keep people interested and allow you to connect with different types of people.
That's great. Yeah. Well, this is a quote from you. If you want people to if you want people to find your profile, words of wisdom, Start by engaging with them. Start by liking their photos, adding comments, building a relationship with them, and following other people. So getting to know and letting people know about your profile on Instagram is a social function. Here is an example. Oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah, no, you just leverage the power of notifications. So basically, while you interact with other people, they receive notifications, and eventually they will visit your profile, and if they like it, they will follow you. So that's basically the basic action you can do to start growing your brand awareness.
Yeah, I like how you said that. Leverage the power of notification. So anytime you tag someone, like in this post by Peg Fitzpatrick, she tagged the name of the company where she was picking apples with her family. So that company is going to get a notification and know that Peg mentioned them. She's also really praising them. And so if I were them, I would want to interact with her. So that's one way that you can do it. Another thing that you're going to want to think about is, how do you translate your brand to a visual first social network? And that's definitely going to take a little bit of planning, and I would suggest it's probably a process. Some of it is about the colors and the styles that you use in your Instagram posts. This is a sample from Semrush, and you can see that they're leaning heavily into a black color scheme with lots of bright colors as their color palette. Here is another example which has a totally different feel. This is from Social Media Examiner, and they have pictures of people. And if I looked at it, I would think, wow, these are happy, successful people. And what I think is really cool about this is it's just very subtly branded. The lanyards on people's necks are from Social Media Marketing World. So that's one way that they're introducing their brand. It's very subtle.
And then everyone is successful on Instagram after all, right?
Exactly. Yes. Everyone is happy.
It looks so.
Yeah. Good point. And that's that. You want to tap into that idealized, aspirational view of ourselves. Of course, I want to be that happy, successful person at Social Media Marketing World. This is one from GE. And if I look at it, I think tech and people. And I don't know what their message is, but that seems a good one for GE. They're also really leaning into the blue and gold color scheme. So as you begin to think about your brand and how to translate it visually, one way that you might want to start is just with your logo. Use a color picker, point to a dominant color in your logo to get that color number, and then use a color scheme designer. This one is from Peloton. You put the color in that you've chosen, and it will suggest for you 3 or 4 complementary colors or contrasting colors. And you can begin as easily as that to develop a visual look for your content on Instagram. Here's how Tailwind does it, and you'll see that there's a consistency in the color palette. There's also a consistency in the perspective or the focus of the camera. Most of the objects in these images are about the same distance, perceived distance from the camera. Now, Chloe's feed is also a beautifully orchestrated look. It's a lot different than the Tailwind one in terms of color scheme, but you can see there's a very cohesive, inviting palette. And Chloe, I was hoping maybe you'd tell us a little bit about how you do this.
Yeah, I would love to. Well, first, I have kind of I'll do capsule wardrobes. So when I'm sharing my style, one thing I like to do is promote, wearing the same things multiple times, which allows me to kind of get a collection of things that have a similar color palette. And so I know that my colors of my outfits are going to look well together on the feed. As far as editing goes, I have an Adobe Lightroom mobile preset that I made, and I had to test out a bunch of presets to find one that really worked for me. I think because I take my photos indoors, sometimes it can be hard to find the right way to edit. And if any of you have practiced editing and started as an amateur editor, it can be really challenging to figure out what works. And it really took a lot of practice. So I just recommend trying a bunch and one tip that worked for me was I try to take my photos indoors with no indoor lighting, just natural light, or outside with no bright light. I find that both of those the lighting in both of those types of pictures allows me to use the same preset. So everything kind of has the same look and feel. And I only have to make a few small adjustments, maybe with saturation or exposure. And I was a complete novice at this. I learned it all just from practicing. So I recommend trying that out. And then my brand colors have that warmish, brownish, earthy tones as well. So I kind of like how that all ties together.
That's great.
And Chloe, if I may ask, do you take the photos yourself, or you have someone else taking the photos?
My husband started helping me, but then I got a tripod, and it actually ties into kind of what you were mentioning earlier, Susan. I realized there was a specific angle that really worked better. I don't know why, but some people it resonates with them more than other angles. And so I found this angle with the tripod. And then when my husband would help me, some of the photos were maybe from above or just from a different angle. And I noticed some of them weren't doing as well. I was like, okay, maybe I need to just stick with this. And so I'll actually sometimes have him take the photo, but it's on the tripod. So it's silly little things like that. And kind of going into the conversation earlier, Susan, when you were sharing about just having a specific kind of look for your photos, and having a content plan, and being recognizable. I like having one consistent background, but then kind of mixing it in with other photos. You can't really see that many other photos other than my normal backdrop in this little image that you have. But I really feel like people recognize my photos before they even realize they're looking at them, because it's so consistent. And so having that consistency, but then also sharing something new is a way that you as a creator and marketer don't get burnout, but then you also have something that people are really going to connect with and recognize.
So in the end, you didn't replace your husband with a tripod anyway.
Sometimes, but he's busy, so it works. But yeah, we sometimes he'll do one, and then he likes the photo to get more engagement because he's like, I took that, but it's still on a tripod. So
behind every successful Instagrammer, there is a husband.
Oh, absolutely.
Or a wife.
Yes. You need support. It's hard to do on your own.
Yes.
Yeah, well, those are such great tips. And I love thinking about how you're applying filters. A couple other things that can help keep your posts fresh. One, don't be afraid to give people a look behind the scenes. Like the picture on the right here is someone's microphone out their window. And then the one on the left is a group of coworkers. So you absolutely can use your feed to give a behind the scenes look at your business. When you're focusing on products particularly, it's a good idea to have really high quality product images. This is one from NARS. Their cosmetic photos are highly dramatic. And to give you another flavor for that, that's still a high quality look at a product, this is my cousin's card store. And you don't have to have a professional photographer to do a good high quality photo. Just make sure that when you're presenting products, you do. Now, in addition to your feed on Instagram, there's also something called stories. Now, stories are different than the traditional square post on your feed. Square posts on your feed are going to live forever unless you delete them. Stories only last for 24 hours, and they can be composed of images, photos, or even 15-second videos. So there are a couple of things about stories that it's good to keep in mind. One is just that scarcity mentality. As soon as you post a story, the clock is ticking. And Instagram helps keep that scarcity mentality alive by reminding your followers how much time it's already been online. People know that the story is going to be gone, and they're often encouraged to click through it. You also get bigger images, stories are more prominently displayed, and there are some handy stickers that you can use to get more engagement. So do try your hand at stories. They tend to be a little less formal than posts that go in your feed as well. Just as we've talked about so many of these things that we need to do with Instagram, I love this quote: good things come to those who start. So don't be overwhelmed by thinking, how do I get images? How do I do this design work? I've listed out some tools on the left that you can use for images, for design, and for scheduling. So definitely check those out and get started. Now, hashtags are a thing on Instagram. If you are used to hashtags on other social networks, you know that some networks love them, some don't. Instagram does. So definitely use lots of hashtags. They're also a good way to get to know what your audience is already interested in. If you are not sure what hashtags would be appropriate, look at some competitors or influencers in your space, see what's working for them, or use a third-party tool that can recommend hashtags for you. Also, lean into video. Video performs extraordinarily well on Instagram. And I love this one from Mari Smith. There are a couple things I like about it. The first is that you can tell that it's repurposed from a longer video. So she's curating from her existing content base and pulling it into Instagram. The video itself is landscape orientation, but she's offset that for the square Instagram look by framing it with her brand colors. She uses the top to ask a question and the bottom for her logo. And if you look carefully at this, you'll notice that she's delivering value with this post. There's no call to action telling you go here to get the answer. The answer is in the video. And this is another video from Brooklyn Tweed, a yarn store that I follow, and they're telling the story of where their yarn comes from. They have captions on the bottom, which is nice because a lot of people look at stories without the sound on. Now, what about those CTAs? I've talked about calls to action a couple of times, and I just want to encourage you that you don't have to put a call to action in every Instagram post. You can use your captions to build engagement. This is an example from Rebecca Radice, where she just shows her coffee cup and asks people if anyone else would like a cup like this. And then she also asks another question. So remember that not everything in your Instagram feed has to encourage people to click to your blog or somewhere else. If you do encourage viewers, users, audience members to go from your Instagram feed to your blog, don't forget to offer value along the way. This is from the MIT Technology Review, and it does have a call to action encouraging people to click a bio link, but they're also engaging their audience just in the caption. Old age is made up, and this concept is hurting everyone. They are coming out with an aggressive, emotion-invoking statement. After the call to action, we've talked about how it would encourage people to go to a link in your bio. And that's the methodology that people use to get someone from Instagram to their website. Tailwind has developed something called Smart Bio, and you can see it displayed here. It allows you to turn that one link in your bio into multiple links. And it's a great way to save time because changing up that link in your bio every time you post something new can be a real pain. This will automatically update for you. And you may have noticed as we've been going through the presentation, the bit.ly link in the upper right-hand corner, that will pull you through to Tailwind, where you can get a $30 credit to apply toward a monthly or annual plan that will include this little Smart Bio link in bio. It's also a great way to get some statistics on how your Instagram posts are performing. And I think that is the last point that I'd like to make, is that as you're developing traffic from Instagram, you want to pay attention to what performs well and what doesn't. Chloe alluded to this earlier, because every post that you present to your audience on Instagram becomes a bit of feedback that you can use to serve your audience better in the future. So get started, focus on engagement, being active, building your audience, and then pay attention to the results that you get in order to drive traffic from Instagram.
I'd love to add one thing about Smart Bio that I love, which is it allows you to not only have specific links to different pages on your site or on your blog, but then it also allows you to add a little link for each post, like Susan was showing us. And I think that that's something that's really difficult on Instagram, is trying to get people to the right place. Like you were showing Susan earlier, they have these pathways, these workflows of how they're getting from your post to your site or your blog. And it's sometimes Instagram can make it difficult to get to the right place. And so I've noticed a huge growth in my click-through rate from having Smart Bio, because I can have people click on a post or a specific link on the bio that kind of gets them to the right place. It's been a really successful tool for me.
That's great.
Yeah, it basically turns the link in bio into a landing page.
Yes.
So you can put everything you want in the landing page and just drive traffic to other pages also. So yeah, I think it's a great tool. And yeah, sorry, Susan.
No, that's all. I think we have some questions. So
cool.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can see each other's faces.
Yeah, that's great. Okay, that was really awesome. We've been having a few questions. So I think we might have already addressed some, but let's see what we have and see what we can reply. So the first question is from Q from NC Media Pros, and they ask, should I run one campaign through Facebook and include Instagram placements, or place an ad just on Instagram? Who wants to reply?
I'm not sure, but I think that's a good thing to tell people, is if you're advertising on Facebook, you may already be on Instagram just via that automatic placement. So don't assume that you're not on Instagram. If you've been using Facebook ads, you probably are.
That's a great point. I would also want to add that I think it's really important to optimize specifically for Instagram, and maybe you're repurposing the same content, but Instagram users sometimes have a different motivation than Facebook users, and as specific as you have a smaller space, I think, on Instagram to really get your point across. So I think it's important to be really clear and have a really compelling image, whereas on Facebook you can have more text.
Yes, and I would add also that I usually prefer to run campaigns on Facebook, even if the placement is on Instagram, because you got so many options. And if you just want to, boost a post from the app, you have limited options. So I would always choose the ad manager to run the campaign, even if it's just for Instagram. So, second question from Leela Diller. How active is active? How often should we post? I think we've already replied to that. So if you can, let's say every day, also depends where your clients are based. So if you have like clients worldwide, there are brands posting even multiple times a day, because you also, need to be visible in every time zone. So it's true that the feed doesn't show the posts chronologically, but also if you post at the same time every day, you create that kind of let's say people expect you to see something from you at that time. And Instagram, if you notice, it's like when you, Susan, were saying earlier that you open Instagram, you open the app and you see the photo of someone you follow and you know that it's them. And if you pay attention, it's always almost at the same time. So if you follow someone who posts at the same time every day, every time you open the phone at that time, you would see their photo. So you can post even multiple times a day, or at least 1 time per day, or 5 times per week, whatever you can. It's never enough, probably.
I think also, I was talking to Susan about this. It's kind of like if you go to a networking event or don't. If you post, you have a chance to engage. And if you don't post, you have 0 chance to engage. So I think it's important to find a system that works really well for you, to where you can focus on what your business is, and not take away from that. But I would recommend, like you said, posting at least every day, depending on how that performs, maybe even more, because you could be engaging with new people. And if you don't try, then you'll never know.
Yes, totally. Next question is from Kaizen Sigma LLC. Are there any hashtag research tools you recommend?
Yes.
What do you use, Chloe?
Tailwind. Tailwind has a hashtag finder that is built into the scheduling tool. So you can type your caption and it actually generates hashtags based on the caption. So if I'm writing about I'm on a trip to, New York, that would be fun. Come visit you, Susan. And then it's going to have some options for hashtags that are popular that have to do with New York or travel. And it ranks them based on if they're kind of more of a niche hashtag, or, middle of the road, like a lot of people are using it, but not millions. And then those huge hashtags, you want to have a variety of all of those on your posts, because you want to expose it to a larger audience, but you also want to have those niche followers who are going to be more likely to engage, and then the people in the middle. So I find that is really helpful in kind of diversifying, and then I don't have to go out and do the research. It just is happening as I'm writing my caption.
Yeah, I was surprised by that. I would type in a caption and I thought it wouldn't be a good one. I was like, oh, there's no way this is going to be good. I want it so bad. And no, it got the green light from Tailwind. I was like, yes, I can use that one.
Yeah.
So that's helpful. It might seem intuitive to not start with a tool, but it seems like Instagram presents enough challenges for us that having some of those assisting devices when you get started with your posting could be really helpful.
Yeah, and I find researching hashtags is really time consuming.
Oh, yeah.
It takes a really long time, and also once you've found the hashtags, you don't know if those are the right ones. That's the other problem. So sometimes you just want to understand whether how difficult it would be, for instance, to end up in the top posts. Which is something that you can do if you realize how difficult that hashtag is.
Yeah, it's interesting because if you're a user of Instagram and not an advertiser or a business, you might use kind of funny hashtags. But as a business, you want to think about hashtags as how your audience discovers you. So being diligent to find the ones that are related well to your product is really, really important.
And that can get you on the Explore page too, which is a huge way to gain followers.
Yes. Yeah. Next question is from Tony. How can I incorporate holiday campaigns to drive traffic to our website? That's a very interesting one.
Start now.
Yeah, start early. I'm seeing people share Christmas stuff. I saw people share Christmas stuff last month. They were taking their kids to Santa and posting about the best places to go or best holiday gifts on their blog. So start early and make it personal. That might be a fun way to share about, get people engaged with you by sharing, something you are excited about for the holidays. And then they're already reading the caption because they're feeling a connection with you. And then you could send them to your website, say, hey, click on this post in my Smart Bio, and you can see what we recommend to get for your husband or partner for Christmas or Hanukkah or any holiday. Really, you could just kind of connect all that with the personalized aspect of it too.
I would consider hashtags too, Cyber Monday, Black Friday, use those if you're running an offer at that time of year. You might also look at things to draw out engagement, asking people what they want for Christmas or things like that to begin building engagement before you roll out the holiday campaign, pulling people to the places you make your money.
Yes. Or, for example, also running giveaways could be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
So if you run giveaways on Instagram and then you drive traffic to the website to tell people who the winners are, for example, that's very interesting also, and can create engagement between Instagram, the profile, and the website. So that can be another thing that usually works really well during the holiday season.
That's great.
And next question is from Sean Scott. Do you post directly to Instagram or use a third-party solution such as, I can say that.
You can, it's fine.
A competitor of Tailwind?
Yeah, I don't know what my preference is to use the third party because it has functionality like being able to schedule your posts, get them out at the right time. For me, my phone feels like a personal item, and so the idea of making sure I'm online at 9:00 at night to post when my followers are on kind of feels like I don't want to do that with my business. So I also like the helping hands that you find in platforms. And again, just to reiterate, as long as the platform is a partner with Instagram, it won't damage your credibility with the algorithm. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I would agree. I think because like I was mentioning earlier, I like to do things in bulk, like take a set of photos in bulk. Even if I'm wearing that outfit a different day, I just kind of plan ahead because it's too difficult to do all that in one day. So maybe take some photos, edit them, and then drop them in Tailwind. And then I can, if I know I'm going to be really busy, I could auto post, but personally, even though I don't auto post, I like to have them in Tailwind, have all the captions and hashtags and everything all figured out and saved. So whenever I'm ready to post, it just can take me straight into Instagram. And so I think whether or not you're auto posting or actually posting in real time, having a planning scheduling tool can be extremely beneficial.
You can also see what your 9 grid is going to look like, which I think is important. If you want that cohesive look like Chloe has, it's good to be able to see a set of posts at one time. And I know Tailwind does that. Hootsuite may too. I'm not sure, but it is good to be able to see what the grid is going to look like. Then, if someone visits your profile, you're giving them a cohesive experience with your posts.
And kind of on that note too, I think sometimes we try to kill too many birds with one stone with scheduling. And we're like, okay, I'm going to make this post and it's going to go to Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, da 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 da. And that kind of takes away from the one-on-one connection that a lot of people on Instagram are looking to find. That's why I like that Tailwind is, we do have a Pinterest dashboard as well, and you can cross post, but I like creating for Instagram, specifically for Instagram. You might repurpose that content and send it elsewhere. But really, in order to succeed on Instagram, you have to be engaging with the people on Instagram and kind of speaking directly to them.
Yes, totally. And another question from Anna. How do you analyze your stories? Do you have a tool for it?
I'm not sure what she means by analyze exactly, if she's looking for engagement or what.
I think she's looking for insights on the stories, I guess.
I find that when you're posting to stories, your feed posts get more visibility. Instagram, your whole account Instagram judges your engagement for your whole account. So not just your feed, not just your stories, they kind of work hand in hand. So you might post your feed at one time every day, but you should be posting to stories at other times in the day. so that people are constantly seeing your content, and then it's more likely that your engagement is going to be boosted, and then you can kind of have more visibility. And also on stories, they have a lot of engagement tools like polls and questions that people can actually interact with, and that's even more engagement. So really, you might not be doing it all day, every day, but if you're doing those things, it will help boost your engagement.
Okay, thank you. Next question is from Kaizen Sigma. Hashtags in the primary caption, or put hashtags as a separate first comment?
I feel like
I know there are different visions about it. Yeah.
Very controversial question.
Yeah. The last trend is put the hashtags into your main caption. Don't put it in the comments as a first comment. This is at least the last trend that I noticed. I don't know if Chloe and Susan can also agree with this. But I think that that might be because there are many, let's say, unofficial tools to post on Instagram using different absurd ways. And that was one of the hacks and tactics that a lot of, let's say, Instagram growth hackers have been using over the years. So putting all the hashtags in the comment as a first comment, so you could remove the comment after a while and just keep the caption clean, which is something that you can actually do anyway, because you can edit the caption and just get rid of the hashtags. So that's going to be exactly the same result. So yes, the latest trend is keep the hashtags in the main caption. And yeah, that's it.
I'm a bit rebellious. I don't do that, even though I have seen everywhere that that's what everyone's recommending, and also to use less hashtags. But for me personally, I've found that, well, I like keeping my hashtags in the first comment because I like it looking really nice, and I like my caption to just have what I'm trying to say. And I really like to emphasize if I'm asking a question or directing people somewhere, because I don't want them to get like overloaded and distracted. It's easier to just really solidify my point with my captions in my first comment. Maybe that has led, to maybe that's not as successful across the board, but it's my personal choice. And I think that as long as you're changing it up, using different hashtags switching up your hashtags, not using the same ones every once in a while, I don't think it's like a huge issue. But I agree. I have seen that people are finding more success with the hashtags in comment or in caption.
Yeah. Another question from Red Dot Marketing. Can you tell me a bit more about how the Smart Link function works? I can't find any information about it on the Tailwind website.
Yeah, it's brand new. And if you click on the bit.ly Semrush deal, you'll be able to click through to it and sign up for the Smart Bio. Smart Bio is included with all of our plans. So even if you're using the free plan, you'll be able to get it and experiment with it. So I think the easiest way to get it at this point is to sign up for bit.ly/SEMrush/deal. And then if you have trouble, you can always reach out to us. In fact, why don't you reach out to Chloe?
Yeah, no, I'd love to kind of add something, because that is my role at Tailwind. I help customers navigate our dashboard. And so we're still releasing, Smart Bio hasn't even been publicly announced or released. So you guys are literally seeing it before anyone else, which is really exciting. And it's a tool I was so privileged to be able to test out over the summer and see my click-through rate has averaged 70%, which I think is pretty crazy for Instagram to get people to click your link, let alone to get people to go to the right place on your website. And so once you create an account on Tailwind, you can just create a free trial, like Susan said, by going to that bit.ly link. You'll see on the dashboard on the left side, the bottom tab will say smart.bio. It'll allow you to customize your page with your brand colors and add the button links that you want to be more permanent. Of course, you can change them at any time and you can move them around, but those are the ones where I'm like, okay, these are my most popular blog posts. This is my email list. This is my blog. I have a spot at the top where it's my brand new blog post that I'm always trying to promote, and I'll switch that out. And then my Instagram photos link to specific outfits or specific blog posts where I'm talking about whatever is in the photo. So that's kind of how it works. And we would be so happy to help you figure it out. And we'll be releasing even more demos and tools about how the platform works as it's publicly released. But hopefully you can reach out to customer success and we'll help answer your questions.
Great. So I think we have maybe one or two questions more. And one is from Droll Yankees. Can you talk more about the most effective formatting of captions? I've noticed that many accounts I follow are moving toward longer captions.
Well, it's likely that's happening because the longer someone's looking at your post, the more engagement you're getting. Like if you're getting someone to look at your post for a longer time, it's more likely that they're staying with you, and Instagram tracks all of that. Especially like Instagram loves when we use their new tools like IGTV, which takes a while. You have to watch a video, or having a carousel post where you're sharing multiple images in one post. People are looking at your first photo, scrolling to the next one, reading your caption. So they're spending a lot of time with you. That's what you're trying to do on Instagram, like get people to spend time with you. And that's probably why people are using longer captions. But also, I don't like to just have a long caption to have one, because then that gets redundant and people start to think this person isn't really adding value to my life, or they're not entertaining me, or whatever your goal is. So for me, everything's moderation. I like switching things up, but that's probably why you're seeing a lot of longer captions.
It's interesting, right? You have to create for the algorithm and the humans and find the balance between the two. Just like with SEO and Google,
Yes.
Google likes really long posts, but they can't be so long and text-based that you lose your readers. So I think it is a balance.
Yes. I would say we take the last question, because it's going to be an hour, like in 2 minutes. And it's from Bianca. Any data on the demographic distribution on the platform? I think this might be part of one of the first slides that you showed.
Demographic distribution.
Yeah. Yes, I'm sure if you go to the Instagram blog, they they constantly release an update on the demographic distribution and the number of users they have, and a few other information which are really interesting. And also, yes, I remember I've seen it many times. It's like the countries where Instagram is more used, and yeah, it's probably on the Instagram blog, or in the press area of the official Instagram website.
And you can see some of those insights too from within your account, and then you can see like, okay, I have this many people in the US or Europe, and then that helps with kind of finding the best time to post, and then figuring out like, if you can't ship to Europe, but you have a lot of followers there, you might need to expand, and having those insights can be really helpful.
Yes. And so it's 2 a.m. here in Bali.
Time for bed.
And,
yes, time for bed.
We got a lot of questions. I think we've answered them all, or most of all. And I would like to thank you, Susan and Chloe, for your time and for this really helpful and interesting presentation, where I learned a lot of new things myself also. So I'm really happy I was able not to just attend, but to even host this. So thank you very much for joining, and thank you everyone from anywhere you are for following this webinar, and looking forward to see you again. Just a quick note: we will be posting the link to the Tailwind, the Tailwind link that is in in Susan's presentation in the chat on YouTube, so people can also click. And yeah, that's it. So
thanks so much,
have
everyone.
a good day, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks. Bye-bye.